Hey everyone, it's me Megz, and I am back with a makeup tutorial, my 13-hour full coverage wear foundation routine. A lot of you on Instagram were asking me about my Beyonce Renaissance beat and how it lasted and how I got it to slay all day for 13 hours. Boom, here it is. Now I will say this foundation routine is not for everybody, but it is for me and full coverage girlies who like this kind of beat. I don't wear this kind of style makeup all the time, but when I want to be really snatched, yes, this is for me, and it's been working for me for years when I do decide to do full coverage. So some of the products in this video you guys are familiar with. They are my staples, my ride or dies, my go-to. And I have also been trying out some new products that I'm going to share with you guys, which allow me to have my long-lasting full coverage wear and slay. So let's go ahead and get into it, but I will say please ignore my nails. I had caught COVID and couldn't get my nails done. So we're here with this. Okay, please bear with me until I get my nails done. Now I'm actually feeling better, back to myself, and we are here doing video. So make sure before you get started with your face, make sure it's really nice, exfoliated, and moisturized. I will say that's super, super important when it comes to a full coverage beat. And exfoliate those lips because you don't want them all crusty and dusty. So let's get into this, okay? First, I'm going to start out with the Tatcha primer. I broke my packaging, so this is why that looks like that. So I did one pump and I applied 4 dots to my face. You probably don't need this much. I'm just a little heavy-handed with primer, but this is one of my favorite primers for long-lasting wear. I also apply this to my neck because I also take my foundation down my neck now, just to make sure everything is nice and even. I'm going to take this one size translucent powder and I'm going to lightly apply some powder around my smile lines and my forehead. This is kind of like where I tend to get a little bit oily, and with this foundation routine, I'm trying to make my makeup last all day, which it does. So I also apply some powder kind of like near the crease of my neck because that's where that sometimes creases when I apply foundation, especially when it was Beyonce concert. I knew it was going to be hot in here. Okay, so I was like, I need this to last. So I'm using my NARS Soft Matte foundation. I put about a pea size of foundation and it allowed me to really spread this all over. So I'm starting at the bottom half of my face, taking it down my neck, and I'm leaving the space underneath my eyes open with no foundation because that's where I'm going to apply my concealer. So I just use the remaining foundation that's on my hand on my forehead, just applying a little bit there, and just sweeping the remaining foundation that's on the brush down my neck. So I am going to use the Fenty concealer. This is my favorite concealer in the color 420. And I'm just going to apply that underneath my eyes and any area where I want a little more coverage. And so I've lost quite a bit of weight. So now I have some kind of like fine lines near my mouth that I want to cover up. I have some slight darkness underneath my eyes, but not too bad. So I only needed just a small amount. So with this foundation routine, it's a lot of steps, but it doesn't feel like a lot of product on my face. And I just blend all of that out with a damp beauty blender. So now I'm going to use my NARS concealer, which is my favorite, and this color is in caramel. So this is quite bright. Like I said, this is like my super glam beat down routine. So I apply some underneath my eyes and a little bit on my chin area and blend that out. So I allow my under eye area to set just a little bit because I want to make sure I get the fullest coverage underneath my eyes because I want a really bright under eye look for myself. So I just make sure I do my chin to brighten that up as well, and then go towards underneath my nose with the same beauty blender that we use. And then I'm just going to blend out the edges and just make sure everything is really nice and even. So at first it kind of looks scary, like, ooh, that's really bright. But once it blends in with everything that I'm doing, I personally like how it looks. So yeah, I'm just gonna make sure that's nice and even and there aren't any creases underneath my eyes, and make sure that I'm just taking my time to see where everything needs to be blended. So boom, that's on, and now I'm going to go ahead and contour my nose. I am going to apply some of this contour stick to my hand, let that warm up, and then continue to highlight my nose with just a little bit of that same NARS concealer. Tap that in. I kind of wait for it to get just a little bit dry so it can have the placement that I want, because you can't have a crooked
contour on your nose, okay? And I take kind of like the remaining product and blend it up near between my eyebrows. So I'm using an angled brush. This is still the same kind of like routine that I've done years ago for full V coverage, using an angled brush and contouring my nose. But I kind of take this contour a little higher up onto kind of like the bridge area of my nose. I would say more narrow in, and I use my fingers to blend that out. So now I'm going to take these Amazon puffs that I've been loving. They're in my Amazon storefront, y'all, and they're so good. I'm going back in with that one size translucent powder and setting my under eye. I no longer really bake for real because I don't find that necessary for myself. And I'm just really loving this one size translucent powder formula. It's so seamless when it goes on. It just looks really like matte. It looks very like effortless and filter-like, which I love. So I'm also going to take a little bit and place that on my nose. And just making sure everything is set into place. So boom, that's on. And I just kind of let that sit while I do my brows. I did my brows a little too full this time. But it's okay. But I always do my brows and then go in with applying a little bit of concealer above my brows to highlight that area too, near my forehead. And just take my time and blend that with the same beauty blender. So boom, that's all blended and seamless looking. So I take a little bit of powder, of the one size powder, and I apply that on my nose. And I'm just using the remaining product that's on the powder and just kind of like blend everything out. So now I'm using my Laura Mercier powder in Deep. And I like to use the Laura Mercier larger powder puffs and really just set my face. I only apply a little bit of product onto my face just to make sure that it gets evenly distributed all over my face. So I'm working out of the cap. So once I puff it and then tap the excess off into the cap, I'm using the remaining powder that's within the cap on my face. So I'm doing a lot of steps, but it's a lot of light layers. So I'm making sure that's on. So now I'm going to go in with my Black Radiance contour palette, which is my favorite palette that I've been using to contour my face for years. I really love Black Radiance pressed powders for contouring and bronzing too. So I am going a little bit heavy with this because I do want this to last quite long. And also this foundation routine I like using when I go to events when I know a lot of pictures are going to be taken and I'm going to be on video, because it shows up like so effortless and it just pops. So I'm going to put a little bit on my nose as well just to get that to pop also. But normally I don't apply more contour to my nose, but this is totally optional because we're already pretty contoured. So this is totally optional, and I was definitely listening to some Little Kim. So I'm just making sure that's blended out, making sure it's not too harsh, and also you have to take in consideration that lighting can make certain things look more pronounced. So once I get into natural lighting, it looks like completely different too. But this is my routine, y'all. So now I go in with blush because this is a part of my foundation routine as well. I tend to mix my blushes to get kind of like that warm, glowy look. So this is NARS Exhibit A and Marena Beauty's Blush Tarot in Sweet Brown. And so this is like a red and an orange mix. So pretty. And I do go quite heavy with this because throughout the hours of the day, it will start to kind of like really settle into my skin and give me a really nice, nice soft glow. So then I forgot to apply my bronzer before my blush. So I typically do that before the blush. And I'm taking a large fluffy brush because I kind of want that to be more diffused. So I apply a little bronzer to my cheek area and then my forehead, just to create a really nice glow. I love bronzer. I just feel like it does something for me. It's one of my favorite things when it comes to makeup to put on. And I also apply that near my jawline just to get that to pop and glow a little bit more too, for a very nice bronzy, sultry look. I love bronzer. And then Charlotte Tilbury bronzer in the color Deep is my favorite. And I love how large the pan is. So you get a lot for your you know, bang for your buck, okay? So I just swirl that in and blend everything out, and everything is starting to come together. So I'm going to go back in with the blush, and I also apply some of that to my forehead just to bring everything together with that kind of glowy look that I'm going for, that like sun-kissed look. So applying blush is still one of the most challenging things for me when it comes to makeup. I don't know why it's so hard. So my placement can be off sometimes. So what I do to fix it a little bit, I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder in the number 2 for an even more highlighted look, because I want it to pop just a little bit more. So a little bit of this powder does go a long way. So I apply that underneath my eyes, and as you can see, I'm kind of taking it quite low because this is going to help me blend out my blush. And I'm also going to put a little bit near my forehead to get that extra pop of highlight. So this is a super highlighted look, y'all, okay? Like very highlighted. So I apply it everywhere where I highlighted my face, especially underneath my eyes, and taking it a bit low near my blush. So that's it, girl. And then I'm going to go back in without applying any more product to my blush brush and just blend everything together. So, ooh, y'all. That's that. So I'm going to go ahead and carve out my my cheeks there and kind of let that sit for like a minute. And I'm going to take that on the sides of my nose. This is actually translucent powder now, just a little bit. This is the one size. And I'm just making sure that everything is set how I want it to be set. So some of you probably like, ooh, girl, this is a lot going on. But it is, but it ain't. I'm going to admit it is, but it ain't. So I'm just going back in and making sure everything is nice and blended and I don't have any extra powder anywhere. And I also take some of my bronzer and apply it near the bridge top of my nose into my eyebrows and blend that out, because that allows me for my shadow to blend how I want it. And I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. And this is my first set. And I love this setting spray. I feel like this allowed my face to last like forever. So I just let that dry. And so everything starts to kind of like really melt together and look more natural. I started my eyes. So when I do my eyes, I go in again. I go in with the Fenty Invisimatte. And I actually put this all over my face. Yes, I put too much on camera, of course. I don't know. Every time I film a tutorial, I always go heavy-handed with my product. And I typically don't normally. But at least y'all can see what I'm doing. So I just applied that all over my face, just a little bit. But this little bit of powder just really packs a punch and makes my face literally last all day. Like I'm walking around like a whole walking filter. Like when I take pictures, it's like retouch central naturally, okay? So I'm just making sure everything is nice and blended, and so far it's looking how I want it to look, making sure that everything is in place. And so now I'm going to go in with the one size setting spray. And this is my real jam, y'all. This combo with these 2 setting sprays lasts me 4 hours. Okay, I did this same routine for BeautyCon this past weekend too. And I was beat for hours, didn't have to touch up. So I like this routine because it allows me to really just be free, walk around without having to worry about touching up my skin. And it gives a really kind of like natural glowy look that I absolutely adore. So yeah, I did this routine for the Beyonce concert and my face lasted for 13 hours for sure. So I love doing this routine when I'm going to be out for long periods of time and I don't want to be stuck in a mirror blotting my face. So yeah, all the products that I use will be down in the description below. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And as always, thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys in the next video.